You have also made the statement that you want advertisers who have a spine on your program. Can you say more about that and what your pitch or warning, depending on how you want to define it, would be to potential supporters of your content?
Yeah. Well, if you are somebody who's going to get really scared by the first mean letter you get, you don't want to advertise on my show. I guess that's the truth, because I definitely am a target. Now, why is that? It's because I have some power and influence. It's because I have an audience. It's because people actually do want to tune in and listen to me cover the news. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And the thing about me is I'll get people from both sides of the aisle on the show as guests and in the audience as listeners. Just today, we had somebody call in who appeared to be conservative. And then we had somebody call in who is more of a liberal, who watches The View and watched me while I was on NBC. Still listening, right? I can get them both. Very few people can say that in the news business right now. But I'm well known. And for whatever reason, somebody once said it's tallest poppy syndrome. Like if you're the tallest poppy, they try to cut you down. I attract a lot of attention. So there's very, very much a chance that somebody could say, well, she said this and 5 other people have said it, but I'm going to make her my target. So unless you are strong and you're willing to say, thank you for your input, appreciate that, and then just go about your business, we're probably not a good match. I said to my production company when I launched the show, I want mom advertisers, like mom run companies. I want veterans. I want people who love America, who have founded companies and built them from the ground up and understand hard work and elbow grease. But if you just really want to appease sort of the loudest wokesters, I'm not for you.
So finally, what do you want to see change in this country as a result of your work?
Just free and fair debate. That's number one. That's what I want. I want to open conversation back up. I don't like safe spaces. I think they're the most poorly named thing, right? It's totally unsafe. How do you get strong? How do you get confident? How do you get resilient? Go through stuff, get knocked down, get back up, lather, rinse, repeat. And so how are we going to grow your daughter and mine into strong women of the future who can take bullshit like what we saw at Fox News? Not, okay, yes, throw them in the lion's den and let them get harassed, but give them the tools. Let them have little challenges before they get to the big one, right? Like, I just did a show on this. How do you build courage? Take on one fear a day, sometimes small, sometimes medium, sometimes large. But then when the enormous one comes, you have practice and exercising courage. That's the opportunity we're taking away from kids right now. Safe spaces don't help them. They take away the opportunity to build muscle. And then when the fist fight comes, they're the cowering weakling. I don't want that for my kids, for your kids. So I think free and fair debate, the willingness to exchange ideas, even if you may find them offensive, and the realization that we used to have that offense might be okay. It might be just a bridge to a new conversation.
Megyn, thank you for your time and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Dan. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this was great. Okay. Megyn, tell me about how you feel about being an advocate for brands. What's your approach to actually doing endorsements?
So I love the ads and I love reading the ads. And I am now convinced that if I hadn't made it in news, I could have had a career reading ads. I'm telling you, like, it's fun for me. And I love getting to know the brand and then figuring out the best way of selling it. Like, what do I actually believe that I can communicate to my audience that's real? And having a real conversation about it. And I've gotten so many, if you go to my Apple reviews where people can comment, you will see so many comments about people saying, I don't fast forward over the ads when you read them because they're fun. And I will say the other thing is I will give the advertisers on my show a personal shout out, like, please support these brands. Like, they stand for what we're talking about, which is the free exchange of ideas. Like, it's not a partisan thing. It's that this is a strong advertiser who believes in America and believes in open talk and so on. And so they deserve your support. I've had tons of advertisers come back and say, like, thank you, that was great. It's not because you can go to any blinds company, right? It's like there's lots to choose from. So why? Just because Megyn Kelly tells you to go to them? No, I'm giving them a reason to be loyal, to love them, to say, I've got actually some ideology in actually going to this particular store. So anyway, I feel like it's the least I can do for my advertisers. And I just love it. I love using my ad sales voice and sort of switching into gear. And my assistant, Abby, is part of my act, and it's super fun.
Well, it's music to my marketing ears because, you know, the what kind of separates the wheat from the chaff with a lot of these is some people will just read what you give them and very dispassionate, and it's always really impactful. And that's what's so amazing about audio, right? Is TV, you can't do that. You can't do an endorsement. You can't
No.
talk about a brand. You can't customize. You have no
Oh, that's right.
jurisdiction over the message. Here you can make sure it's actually authentic.
Oh, Dan, on the podcast, if I had a nickel for every time my executive producer has been like, MK, the ad is supposed to be 30 seconds, not 2.5 minutes. I'm like, but it's fun. I'm having a good time. And I'm like, the advertiser never gonna complain that we gave him more time. He's like, no,
No.
I am complaining. I'm like, well, I'm having fun, right? On radio, it's not as easy, but on the podcast, I still let it roll. And you got to read the advertiser, right? Like some you can get away with dropping a swear word here or there, but
Mhm.
you know, some you can make like a raunchy joke if you know the advertiser, because I'll talk to all of them personally before I start reading the brands. Anyway, I just think it's fun, and I think the audience feels connected with me and with the advertiser if you have like an organic moment. I'll give you one example. We did this whole bit on the X chair and how it vibrates you and it warms you and it made,
Does
and
it
like,
really?
of course I
I
took
had
it to
no
the
idea.
I took it to the R-rated place, and I brought Abby in on it and really embarrassed her and her husband Kevin by extension. Anyway, it's still people still write in about that ad. I got in their heads, right? So Xchair doesn't care that I went R-rated. They think it's great. I'm now in people's heads with it, and I think clever ways of sort of getting the advertiser in front of people like that work for everybody.
Mm. Are there brands that you have a deal with that extends beyond your shows, where like you're the face of the brand that goes elsewhere? And is that
Not
are
yet.
you into
No.
that sort of thing?
No, not yet. I don't think so. I mean, I'm really, I'll tell you the number one person or brand I want to advertise on my show, and that's Dyson, because they created the greatest
Mm.
vacuum cleaner known to man. It's the most beautiful, wonderful thing I've ever seen in my life. I had a dog who was shedding during the quarantine, and I had the crappiest vacuum, and I replaced it with another vacuum, and it still was terrible. And then I finally found the Dyson one that is meant for animal hair, and it was life-changing. And I don't know how I reached them to communicate this information, but I'm telling you, I I will bring Dyson to its maximum sales capacity.
Well, you just want things to work properly, I take it.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty cool. Well, and so what we do at our agency, we really try to only take on clients that we believe are worth fighting for, because you are fighting for them all the time, and so if you know if it's not something that you're passionate about as an intermediary, it's going to be really hard to make that infectious. And so it's
Yes.
so cool that all the way through the supply chain with you that you're taking the same